The Viltrum Empire is one of the greatest threats that we've seen in a while. A whole civilization of basically supermen, all completely intent on wiping you off the map. So with a threat like that, well, it seems fitting to call in the Avengers. And not just the Avengers, but all of Earth's heroes. So today, well, here's the question. Can the MCU Earth survive a Viltrumite invasion? Replace Thanos and his army with a whole bunch of Viltrumites, and how are our heroes doing? Let's get into it. Now, just to be clear here, we're talking about the Avengers from the MCU and the Viltrumites from the show Invincible, not comic versions. Because if you're talking comics, well, the Avengers would crush the Viltrumites. Heck, Thor or Hulk could probably solo the entire Viltrumite Empire all by themselves. The scaling in these different universes just goes crazy. And so, when we're talking about the Avengers, well, just who are we talking about? Who are their true heavy hitters? Well, there's the Hulk. And I know when I say the Hulk, it doesn't hit with the same weight that it really should. The MCU kinda nerfed the guy as it went along, but still, it's the Hulk. The big guy is incredibly strong. He set some great feats along the way, fighting against Thor, punching a mountain-sized Surtur in the face, he's decking Leviathans, or even snapping the Infinity Gauntlet. All that is crazy impressive. Or then there's Doctor Strange, the master of the mystic arts and the sorcerer supreme, easily showing off that he's the most powerful sorcerer on Earth and the greatest defense against any magical threat. He's done some great things throughout the years, dealing with multiversal threats, fighting against Scarlet Witch, even fighting against Thanos with 4 Infinity Stones. Thor's the legendary God of Thunder. For a lot of years, Thor was able to hold on to the title as strongest Avenger and most powerful hero in the MCU, which shouldn't come as any surprise. He's a god. He's incredibly powerful. He's the only hero who's legitimately shown off planetary level strength on screen. He's arguably done it on multiple occasions too. He's battled against some of the toughest villains out there. He's shown off lightning level speed. He's legitimately beaten and nearly killed gods before. Captain Marvel is basically in a class all her own compared to a lot of the other heroes in the MCU. Only a few can even remotely compare next to her now that she's had some massive upgrades from her movie. Like at her best, well, she's at least hundreds of thousands of times faster than the speed of light. She can fight against Thanos and overpower him. Even if he was wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, that's still better than anything anyone else has ever done. And she was legit able to reignite a star just based off her own raw power. She's truly in a class all her own. And then last but not least, Scarlet Witch. Now it kinda took a while for Wanda Maximoff to officially become the Scarlet Witch, but when she did, well, she really cemented her place as a powerhouse in the MCU. She's one of the most powerful magic users we've ever seen, to the point where she's more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange said he had no way to defeat her, and she could take on all the sorcerers of Earth at once. And she's just as powerful against normal heroes too. She easily soloed the Illuminati, which included an alternate version of Captain Marvel. Scarlet Witch was suggested to be a multiversal threat. She really lived up to the hype. Remember, the question isn't necessarily Avengers versus Viltrumites, but the MCU versus Viltrumites. All the forces for good assembled once again, just like they did against Thanos. So you're talking about not just all the Avengers, but also Ravagers and Asgardians and the armies of Wakanda. Most importantly, all the sorcerers Earth has to offer. But we'll get back to that in just a second, because now we need to talk about the Viltrumites for a little bit. And even in just the show, well, the Viltrumites are really powerful. Like, just take a look at Omni-Man and Invincible. Now, Invincible, well, the kid is a Viltrumite. You know he's incredibly strong and powerful. When he was first starting out as a hero, well, he stopped an asteroid from coming in and destroying a country on Earth. Stopped it cold, threw it back into space. And even if you don't want to count his fight against Omni-Man, it's actually a true fight, he did fight against Thula. When he finally stopped holding back, started fighting like his life actually depended on it, he was able to hold his own against Thula. Pretty powerful Viltrumite warrior. And this was at least impressive enough that the Viltrum Empire took notice and decided that that fight meant Mark was worthy of his Viltrumite heritage and would take his dad's place with conquering the Earth. And Mark has been training and pushing himself more and more ever since then. He's definitely stronger and more powerful than he's ever been before. He's also really tough too. Like Invincible, even just surviving the fight against Omni-Man is one of the best durability feats you're ever gonna see. Omni-Man was literally launching him all the way around the planet during that fight. That's absolutely crazy. He was hitting him so hard that he was unleashing earthquakes and shaking the mountains. Mark took it all. It's actually pretty consistent for him, because other Viltrumites have been able to do stuff similar, and Invincible is still able to hang in there and take it. His durability is nothing to scoff at. It's only getting tougher and tougher. When before Reanimen were really able to give him a good fight, now they're nothing to him. Invincible is even able to survive point-blank nuclear bombs. Keep on going. And Omni-Man is even more powerful than this. I mean, the guy was the strongest superhero on Earth. He was able to punch straight through the Immortal and snap War Woman's neck. These are the two heavy hitters for Earth's greatest superhero team. Nolan then did it again, punched straight through Immortal. Omni-Man has said before that he stopped an asteroid the size of Texas, which will be like hundreds of thousands or millions of tons, then lifted up this massive boulder. He was lifting it with just one hand. Omni-Man knocked around a massive kaiju monster which was hopped up on all sorts of drugs and steroids. It was humanity's last shot at beating him. Then there was his fight against Invincible. The guy was sending Mark flying miles and miles with every single punch. And this was against his son. And Omni-Man was holding back because he didn't want to kill Mark. That's crazy. On top of that, Omni-Man is also insanely durable. No selling laser blast, just standing there like it was nothing, waiting for the smoke to clear so that he can just look as intimidating as humanly possible. He's taking attacks from all the Guardians. He's taking everything that Cecil could throw at him, even straight up nuclear lasers. And in his fight against Invincible, well, Mark tried to punch him. Nolan didn't even move, didn't even budge. You put all of this together, and Omni-Man was able to go up against the Flaxans, a superhuman, super advanced alien race, and he was just overpowering them, blitzing them all over the place. Wiped out all the infrastructure on the planet with his strength and his speed. But there are a few things to this. One, well, there aren't many Viltrumites, so MCU Earth definitely has the numbers. There are less than 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites, according to Nolan. And that's not all. A lot of these Viltrumites aren't nearly as powerful as Omni-Man. And some aren't even as powerful as Invincible when he was weaker. Like, Nolan has consistently been able to take on 2 or 3 Viltrumites at once. Invincible can hold his own against some Viltrumites. And the only Viltrumite that we can really consider to be even on par with Omni-Man and Invincible as he is now will be Anissa, considering that Conquest and Thrag haven't been introduced in the show yet. Everyone else should be considered weaker than this, at least a little bit. So it's not like 50 Omni-Men are going to be attacking the Avengers here. Omni-Man is the best that the Viltrumites have to offer. Again, so far. And I also don't think it's as simple as just both sides smashing into each other and punching back and forth until one side goes down. Although that probably is how the Viltrumites will approach this fight, if we're being honest. But as for the heroes of Earth, well, they have some heavy hitters that can engage with the Viltrumites. In fact, there's an argument that Thor, especially Captain Marvel, are more physically powerful than any Viltrumite out there, including Omni-Man. I mean, we're talking Thor taking the full force of a star and Captain Marvel reigniting a star under her own power. Those are some serious feats. Plus, you include Hulk, Iron Man, maybe even Icarus or Mighty Thor, depending on how you want to date this. And there are some heroes that have enough power to fight against average Viltrumites. But the real kicker here is going to be Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, and all the sorcerers. I mean, Wanda is the Scarlet Witch with the power to bend reality to her will. And while we've seen what Wanda's been able to do, we know what she's capable of. Heck, she might actually be able to stop the invasion all on her own. She's just that powerful. Plus, she's an incredibly powerful telepath too. So there's truly nothing stopping her from getting all the Viltrumites to suddenly imagine themselves living their own utopia, where Viltrum has conquered the known galaxy and grateful populations everywhere live peacefully under their rule. Or there's Doctor Strange, who's also capable of some things well beyond the Viltrumite pay grade. He might not be able to send the entire armada to the mirror dimension all at once, but you pair him up with Wong and all the other sorcerers of Earth, well, that's a real possibility. At the very least, he's opening up portals to send them all through. And the MCU's heroes are being led by the likes of Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Panther. So these strategies are real and are likely to happen. Now, the Viltrumites can win. They hold a sizable stat advantage over pretty much everyone on Earth. But Marvel has some heavy hitters of its own. You combine some power and abilities that the Viltrum Empire can't overcome or escape, well, I think it's more likely that the Earth survives this invasion.